Are you looking for a way to use up pattern paper in that 12 by 12 cardstock that's just collecting dust in the closet? I've got a fun pop-up card for you today. Let's get crafting. Here I have chosen several pieces of pattern paper as well as a 12 by 12 inch sheet of green cardstock. Now I'm cutting this down to 4 inches by 12 inches. Using my scoreboard, I'm going to go ahead and score this piece of cardstock at 6 inches and then burnish the crease really well. Now, if you don't have a scoreboard, that's still fine. You can just fold your cardstock in half and use the edge of a pair of heavy scissors and burnish out that edge if you don't have a bone folder. Now, truthfully, I tend to go back and forth between cutting my cardstock and scoring it, cutting it and scoring it. But you can do all your cuts at once and score all at once. It's just however your brain works. Here I have selected a piece of pattern cardstock that actually has a 1 inch strip in it. And I'm just going to cut the strip ever so carefully so that I get all of that pretty candy cane stripe for the inside panel. This is what's going to make my pop-up. So this piece should be 1 inch by 12 inches. Now this particular book of pattern paper, I think came from Michael's quite a while ago, so I'm sure it doesn't exist anymore. But I let my pattern paper do the work here because it had striped patterns already made. Now, if you don't have something like that, no problem, use solid cardstock. I just wanted something that was going to match these other pattern papers, and I really thought that the colors here went beautifully. Now, don't worry about writing down all those measurements. It's not necessary because I've taken care of that for you. In the description box below, there is a free PDF that you can print out and keep for a reference for future use. It will include a picture of the project, the supply list, and some basic directions for making that. If you want to check out the project supplies further, although I do encourage you to use what you have, but sometimes we need new stuff. But if you want to check out what I use, that's also in the description box. Now, using a link will take you directly to that item, and I've given you some options where I can. I basically use scrapbook.com as well as Amazon. Those links provided to you at no additional cost will provide your content creators with a very small income. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything more to use the links, and trust me when I say we truly appreciate when you do. Now this card is pretty darn adaptable. Um, I called for in the directions a 2 by 2 inch square, but obviously that's not going to work with these Victorian houses because the houses measure out at 2 3/4 long by 1 3/4 wide. So I needed to make my inside panels 2 inches by 3 inches to accommodate the little houses. But if you don't have anything specific, use the 2 by 2 because it does give you more writing room inside if that's what you want to do. For my specific card, I'm choosing to write on the back of the card instead of anything on the inside. I really wanted the inside to be a focal point without my handwriting interfering with that. So I'm going to put everything on the back for mine. And I'm just going to finish up cutting my 4 rectangles or squares, whatever you're choosing. And then I'm going to fussy cut out the 4 little Victorian houses with my cutter bee scissors. That done, I'm going back to my 1 inch strip, which is going to be the pop-up feature. And I'm going to score this at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 9 inches. Okay, this is a super easy fold. We're going to fold it in half and burnish it. For the second fold, you're going to take the end and fold it back towards the center. Give it a good crease, flip it over, and do the same thing with the other side. Alrighty then, it is time to get our inside decorations done. Now, I've chosen to really let the pattern paper do the talking, and I'm using my fabulous Barely Arts Precision Craft Glue, and I'm simply going to glue my little Victorian houses to the panels that are green. And I'm just gluing them in the center. I'm not doing anything fancy schmancy with these, but that doesn't mean you can't. You do you. So if you want to fancify them, go right ahead. Now, as I'm doing my voiceover, I'm looking at my finished card saying to myself, what could I have done to really zhuzh up the center part of the pop-up? And the snow is what's really standing out on these little Victorian houses. I could have used a little bit of texture paste. I didn't because I really wanted to keep them rather light. This turns out to be a little bit of a bulky card. So if you're going to put it in the mail, then you might have to pay a little bit extra postage or put it in a bubble mailer. I put all my cards in bubble mailers when I send them out because that way I can seal them up and nobody's the wiser as to what's inside. Hey y'all, I'm Wendy from Village Card and Craft, and I want to thank you for choosing to spend your time with me today. If you're finding value or enjoyment from my video, please consider giving me a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. We'd love to have you be a part of our growing community as we are heading towards our next goal of 3,500 subscribers, and I couldn't do it without you. Oh, no surprise here that I am fussy. So I'm deciding which order I want the little houses to show up on the inside of my card. And then I'm going to kind of line them up. Now, the first section is 3 inches. So I'm using the grids on my glass mat to kind of decide where the halfway mark is. It's not perfect, but at least it gives me a pretty good indication of where I want to place them on my 1 inch strip. Now, apparently my little 1 inch strip decided to get away from me. So I just tacked it down with a little bit of mint tape onto my glass mat and then put glue directly in the center of my the first 3 inches so that I knew where to align the card for. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other sections, putting glue in the middle and putting it down. Now, regardless of what shape you use for the little cards, you want to make sure that they're going to line up when it folds. So that's what you see me doing there. I'm just going ahead and doing the fold and making sure that my inside panels will all line up straight and even. At this point, I'm going back to my pattern paper because there are two very thin strips that go with all of the colors that are in my card. Now, I did look in my stash of washi tape, and I don't have very many rolls of washi tape, but I just didn't have anything that was pink or purple, you know, that hard candy Christmas kind of color. So I opted to go ahead and let the pattern paper do the talking again. These two strips are perfect. They are about 1/4 of an inch by 12 inches, and they are going to work perfect for the inside of the card. Now here I'm just working out where everything is going to lay out on the inside. And as you can see, because I chose to use rectangles, there's very little, if any, writing room. And that's okay because my intention was really to make the center be a highlight of the card and do my personalization on the back. I'm going back to using my Barely Arts Precision Craft Glue, and I'm just putting a very thin strip down the center, and then I'm going to add one of those two strips and glue that down. And then I'm going to repeat that with the top. Now this is again a really versatile card, and if you didn't want to stick with my measurements, you didn't have to. If you knew that you wanted to write on the inside of the card, you could have made the card base 6 by 12 instead of 4 by 12. Um, 5 by 12 may have given you enough room. I'm not sure, but The sky's the limit with this. You can really play with all the pieces and parts. You might just have to adjust those measurements. Now, as I'm working through this edit, I'm still looking at those houses thinking, what else can I do? So if you have a shimmer pen or something like Winkostella, you could certainly use that on the white accents to give your snow some glisten. I'm just popping in here for a second to share with you our Village Card and Craft community over on Facebook. If you'd love to share your paper crafting projects with a like-minded group, please consider joining us over there. We'd love to have you. Okay, it's time to add our pop-up feature and glue that down. Now, I'm still going to use my liquid glue. I think it holds up better than like a dry adhesive, but you want to line up so that the left side of your strip lines up precisely with the edge of your card. And I'm going to put glue from where my panel ends over to the very left side. I'm not putting it on the rectangle part, just on the 1-inch strip. And then I'm going to level that out and glue it down. And I love using my acrylic blocks to hold down anything that I am gluing. But I'm going to repeat this same thing on the right hand side. Now the center two houses, the two center rectangles or squares, whatever you're using, will not have any adhesive on them at all. Now make sure that glue is dry, but check out the little pop-up. You got to admit, it is super cute. I'm going to decorate the front now, and I have selected another piece of the same pattern paper that I used on the inside, and I'm checking to see if I want the pink or the green, and well, I want the green. And I'm going to go back to that same paper pad, and there's a tag there, and the tag has a Merry Christmas sentiment, and it's circular, and it has the same 4 little Victorian houses. It's perfect for the front of the card. Now this pattern paper could be any size that you want, from 4 by 6 inch down to about 3 3/4 by 5. Depends on how big a border you want. I cut it down honestly about 1/8 of an inch. So although I did give you the measurements of a 1/4 inch border, pretty much you can do whatever you like. Now, if you've chosen to use washi tape on the inside, you definitely want to tape over the edges of washi tape because it tends not to stick. So in that case, you would want 2 4 by 6 inch panels or another 4 by 12-inch panel to cover up that entire back. I fussy cut out the circle for the tag, but you could use a punch or a circle die if that's what you've got. And then I went ahead and wanted to fancify this, so I am going to use some scrapbook.com wafer thin dies. These are called nested flowers, and I just find one that's slightly larger than my circle, and I cut that out in some gold metallic foil cardstock. Now the versatility of this card is exponential because you could ink blend on the front, you could add an embossed panel, you could add something like solar paste if you wanted to, some type of texture paste. The world is at your fingertips here, so really go for it. This would be also a great card with a vertical format. I didn't have a chance to do that, but if you try it, show it to us over on our Facebook page at Village Card and Craft. I would love to see this in a vertical format. This couldn't just be a Christmas card. I just thought what a great housewarming card this would make as well. And I also made a couple of others. Let's check those out. The next card I made was a happy birthday card that I just used the pattern paper once again to make my own ephemera from there. And I used a stack sentiment. And here I did another Christmas card with the Nutcracker. And all of those little pieces are pops of color glitter on the inside. And it again is just an oval cut from pattern paper. If you're guilty of hoarding the pattern paper, check out this playlist and I'll see you real soon.